I don't know about you, but this reminds me of my youth. Reminds me of being sat on the floor watching old VHS tapes of the Paris-Dakar rally from back in the 80s and 90s. And that is no accident, because Ducati have designed this, the all-new DesertX, to look just like a Paris-Dakar rally bike from back in the day. They've also designed it to be just as good on the road as it is off-road. Can it be done? Is it possible? Let's find out. Shit, I'm late. Right, here we go. Right, press that to turn it on. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, that's a bit top heavy. Ladies and gentlemen, bon appetit. We're in Sardinia, the land of sardines, the land of sun, sea, sand and sardines. And Ducati DesertX's today. This is pretty exciting. All new from Ducati. Well, I say all new. It is an all new package, but the engine is the fairly familiar package, or the fairly familiar motor from the Ducati V2. The Testa Strata engine, 110 horsepower. Proper off-road techers on this baby. That's what we're expecting. 202 kilograms, totally dry, but you will need to put some fuel in it if you want to go anywhere. I was in a bit of a tiz this morning, just setting cameras up and faffing around, and I didn't manage to go to the toilet, and I really wish I did, because we've only just set off and it's already a concern. There's a 21 litre fuel tank on this, but there's also an accessory rear tank that is connected to the front tank. But what happens is you fill your front tank, you fill your rear tank, and then when your main fuel tank runs low, you get a little pop up on the dash, and it says, "Fuel's running low. Would you like to transfer the fuel from the rear tank?" So you either say yes or no, bish bash bosh, and then while you're riding along, it transfers 8 litres of fuel from the rear tank into the front. Bit of adjustment with this, which is nice. So the handlebars, you probably can't see that from your vantage point, but there's 2 little markers there, one that says road and one that says off-road. So we're in the off-road setting at the minute, which is the handlebars a bit further up, so it's a bit more comfortable stood up. The road setting pivots them back down a little bit, so a bit lower and a bit nearer. I think there's about 4 different positions with the seat. Standard seat height, if I'm right, is 875mm, but you can go up and down from that with various accessory parts. There is an accessory seat that is kind of like a single kind of motocrossy seat. But I'll stop talking about accessories now, because that's boring, isn't it? That's more money. They did say to us last night in the press conference that 80% of the development on this bike's been done off-road, although they only expect 10% of people to actually ride it off-road, realistically. Oh, it's getting a bit lumpier now. Right up there. Oh! Tell you what, you're glad of this long suspension on these rolly bumps. It's ever such a sort of friendly bike for these slow, rolly, flip-floppy turns. Nice smooth power. I was going to ride over that, but I didn't know how soft it would be, so I thought it might be a mistake. We're in sport mode now. Ooh, I tell you what, the throttle response is noticeably sharper, and that low down punch of powers. I'm not going to use the word ferocious, but oh, the brakes are good. That's probably the first time I've pulled them properly on the tarmac. Oh yes, look at this. This is nice. go steady. My wheels are covered, the tyres are covered in dust. Yes, the braking system on this bike, you've got Brembo calipers front and rear. The front calipers are M50s, which are, well, they're not the top of the range ones now, but they're pretty bloody good. Better brake calipers than you'd normally see on a bike of this kind, you know, off-roady kind of enduro spec. Sharp, strong and stable. Just like our economy. Oh, wait a minute. Tell you what, he's not hanging about, isn't this kid? Yeah, he's having a bit of a go, bless him. No wonder we're leaving the pack behind. Oh. Yeah. I'm having to concentrate a little bit here. I tell you what, this is unbelievably capable, this bike. You wouldn't expect a bike that you could actually ride properly off-road to be able to do this. Like if I poked my knee out a little bit more, it'd be on the floor. Ooh. Not when I take liberties with that big 21-inch front wheel. It just sometimes feels like if you're carrying too much speed into the turn, you can't get it you can't dig it in and just turn the bike over the top of it like you would on a bike with a small front wheel. It wants to walk to the edge of the road a bit, but that's only if you go in too hot, like I keep doing. Oh, that's cool, isn't it? The tracks are on tracks. Oh, there is a bit of shite on the road. Oh, a bit of shite on the tyres as well. I can feel it moving around. The shifter's good. Shifter and blipper on this bike, along with the... Oh wow, look at these. Yes! Yeah, baby. For a bike that's kind of designed or been developed 80% off-road, it's really quite impressive on these little twisty, bendy, curvy roads. Once you're actually in the turn, you can drive your way out, and it takes the weight off that front wheel and just pulls you around the corner. Mega chassis, particularly when you consider how much suspension travel we've got. You know, coming round these corners, it doesn't dive too much when you get on the brakes. It doesn't squat too much when you get on the gas. And you can lean the bike over a long way as well, further than you might think. I guess it's just because of the fact the pegs are quite kind of high. It's not that wide. Reasonably, for such a big bike, it's fairly narrow. So you can get loads of lean angle. I haven't scraped the pegs yet, anyway. Which is, you know, the pegs in the side stand are usually on a bike like this. Doesn't usually take too long before they're on the floor. That would do my absolute nutting, wearing a bell around my neck. Some of you may know that I'm not actually I'm not normally a massive advocate of electronic suspension, but on a bike like this, it would actually make sense, particularly on a ride like this as well, because we're going from kind of tight, twisty tarmac roads to big, open, flowing, fast roads to off-road sections and gravel and potholes and stuff. And you know, we're changing the rider mode as we go between one section and the next. So it would kind of make sense if you was able to change the suspension settings easily. I mean, you can't do it, obviously. This is fully adjustable, this suspension, but it's not electronic, so you've got to get the spanners out. But realistically, you're probably not going to, are you? But yeah, my point is, when you're going from one type of riding to the next straight away on a ride like this, it would make sense if you was able to set it for that environment at the touch of the button. Because although you know, the bike's handling amicably around these twisty stuff, it would be better if it was a bit stiffer. There's no two ways about it. I mean, it's good, but the suspension is a compromise. They've set it to be a compromise. It's kind of all right on the road, all right off road. Whereas I just think you could, if it had electronic suspension, you could have a bike that was slightly better on the road, slightly better off the road, rather than being that compromise. There we go. I did actually ask Ducati just there. We stopped for some photographs, and I said to the guys from Ducati, I said, look, is there going to be a version of the DesertX with electronic suspension? And they said no. That's confidence, isn't it? Eh? Bring a spare one in the back of a pickup. Rally mode. Right, so to change the mode, you press and hold that one there. Press and hold, mind. And oh, we're already in rally mode, but there's the modes. Look, enduro, wet, touring, urban, sport, exit, rally. Rally mode, press it once. Bish bash bosh. Job's a dream. Yes, P1, well P2 actually has, but you know, almost. Ooh, rushed into that bugger. Well, the going's getting a bit more tricky now. We're only just, or I'm only just, I should say, good enough to keep up with this lead rider, but he is a shit hot enduro rider, to be fair. Not that he's probably trying very hard. God, that makes it more difficult when you've got double the dust. Double dust on the DesertX. Whoa, fucking hell. Ooh. Fuck me, I can't see a bastard thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again, when a bike's as capable off-road as this is, you do get carried away. And it's not, you know, it's not an enduro bike, it's not a motocross bike. And it will have you if you take the piss. Because it's got 100 and odd horsepower, 110 horsepower, weighs a couple of 100 kilos. Ooh, you fighter, whoa. Whoa. One thing Ducatis are just always tend to be really good at, or they have in the last few years, is the electronic systems. And this is no exception. It's ooh, fighter. Even the ABS is, you know, reasonably serviceable. ABS is, on a lot of bikes, is absolutely dog shit off-road, but it works on this. I mean, you wouldn't want to rely on it, but it's it will just help you out every now and then if you're kind of running a bit too hot and just grab the brakes a bit too sharp, which I guess is what it's designed for, isn't it? I suppose at 14,049 quid, I can see why they didn't put electronic suspension on it, because, you know, if this had been, you know, over the 15 grand mark, I mean, I know it's a Ducati, but I think they'd have struggled at 15 grand. Oh shit. Whoa, fucking hell. That's what happens when you don't concentrate. That's what happens when you look at the scenery. It's a funny old thing, isn't it, a bike this size, a 937cc twin off-road bike. I want to call it a middleweight, but because you know, it's not 1200, but you can't really call a 900 odd cc bike a middleweight, can you? Especially not when it's off-road. So I apologise if I do refer to it as a middleweight, because I know there'll be a lot of people who shout at me and say that's not middleweight. That dashboard looks a bit like you know, when like tablet phones, smartphones first came out, and they were a bit big and bulky like that. And he used to put like a big rubber case around it so you didn't smash it. I think that looks like one of them. Oh yes, yeah, baby. They have done a good job of making a compromise as far as this suspension is set up, because it does work on the road and off the road, which that's difficult to achieve. Phenomenally comfortable as well. I mean, ergonomically speaking, it's difficult to fault. It's just everything's where I need it to be. Oh, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh, I'm fucking soaked now. Whoa! Yes! Fans of the V2 will be familiar with the engine. It is the same engine, roughly, but the gearbox is completely different, and the engine electronics are totally different as well. Electronics wise, you've got just about everything on this bike, so that's adjustable traction control, adjustable ABS, and you've got 6 rider modes. Yeah, 6. Is that okay? I tell you what. Interestingly, this is only the second bike in Ducati's history that they've unveiled as a prototype before releasing it as an actual bike. They pulled the covers off it at EICMA 2019, and apparently since then people have been bugging them non-stop to build it, so they have. It's also the first Ducati since the 60s, I believe, to have a 21-inch front wheel and an 18-inch rear. So that to me says this bike is an off-road bike. You got a big old 21-litre fuel tank that they reckon's good for about 400 kilometres, and then there's a accessory part. You can put some tanks at the back, and that's good for another 200 kilometres ish. If you fancy one, hopefully you like white, because this is the only colour that they do. And if you do want one, it'll cost you £14,049. I mean, we could go over the bridge, or we could risk it and go that way. It's hard to find a motorcycle that's as good off-road as it is on-road, but I think Ducati might have actually done it. I mean, you look at this bike and you think, well, no, it's not going to be, it's not a road bike. It's not going to be any good at throwing around twisty little tight bends like this, but really is. It's quite tall and it's quite soft, but you know, when you get in them turns, it just rails round way better than it should. Properly impressed with this. Apparently, since they unveiled the concept of this at EICMA in 2019, they've had 1,500 orders already. Wow. That's before anyone's ridden one. It's before they've seen them in a showroom, and probably before they even knew how expensive they were going to be. I really like the 90s sort of Dakar get-up. I think it's harking back to a time that a lot of us like harking back to. Oh shit. If this bike was a porn star, it would have the biggest bush you've ever seen in your life. Ooh, I took the front there a bit.
The big one.
That's what she said. Weaving our way through wind turbines in Sardinia on a beautiful sunny day. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. So, what do I think then as we ride back into the hotel? Well, apart from the fact that it is quite expensive, and that for 14 grand you might like it to have electronic suspension, so that for rides like today where we've been going from tarmac to dirt to tarmac again, you can adjust the suspension to suit the terrain at the touch of a button. But apart from them little things, this is a very, very, very good all-rounder of a motorcycle. and I've been properly impressed.